The first scream didn't come from a person. It came from a cow spooked into a dead run, snapping a brand-new aluminum fence like it was tinfoil. By the time I reached the south pasture, 3 cyclists were on the ground, and my bull, Red Man, was standing perfectly still, steam rising from his nostrils. I cut the engine and stepped out slow, palms open. "Nobody move," I said, calm but loud. "He's not charging. He's confused." One of the cyclists, mid-30s, neon helmet, shouted back, "There's a bike path here. You can't have livestock roaming free." I looked past him. The path was real. Smooth asphalt, fresh paint, white HOA signage with little green leaves and a slogan. Meadow Loop Community Wellness Trail. It cut straight through my pasture. I'd owned this land for 17 years. Active grazing. Zoned agricultural. The cattle weren't roaming free. They were exactly where they were supposed to be. Red Man snorted and turned away. Bored now. Crisis over. But something else settled in my chest. Tight and wrong. "You're trespassing," I said. "This is private land." A woman filming on her phone scoffed. This was approved months ago. The HOA sent notices. "No," I said. "They didn't." That night, under a sky gone purple and low, I walked the fence line with flashlight. The posts were sunk deep. Survey stakes marked clean, confident lines. Whoever built this didn't rush. They planned. At my gate, a laminated notice flapped in the wind. Temporary easement. Community use pending final review. No signature. No county seal. I called the HOA president, Mark Ellison. He answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, Tom," he said, too casual. "I was meaning to reach out. You put a bike path through my cattle," I said. Pause. Papers rustling. "According to our records, that section isn't classified as active pasture." "You've been to my land," I said. "You've eaten my beef." Another pause, longer this time. "Well, there's been some reclassification." "By who?" "The county," he said quickly. "Look, let's not escalate. People got scared today." "My bull got scared," I said. "That's worse." He sighed. "We'll talk at the next HOA meeting." The line went dead. I stood there listening to the night sounds, crickets, distant highway noise, the low breathing of cattle. Everything familiar, everything steady, except the path. It gleamed under the moon like it had always been there. And that scared me more than the cyclists ever could. The county clerk frowned at her screen and leaned closer, like the answer might hide if she stared too hard. "That's strange," she said. "Your parcel shows a mixed-use amendment approved last year." "I never filed one," I said. She clicked again. "It's tied to a development overlay. Green Horizon Initiative." I'd never heard of it. By noon I had copies, thin, official-looking PDFs stamped and signed. Digital signatures. Environmental language. Bicycle access. Community wellness. Somewhere in the paperwork, my pasture stopped being mine. I drove home slow, thinking. Then I did what Ellison didn't expect. I followed the path. Every quarter mile, discrete trail cameras were mounted in birdhouse-style casings. Not HOA grade. Too clean. Too expensive. I snapped photos. At the north end, the path curved toward a drainage culvert I'd never paid much attention to. Today it was fenced off with a key padlock. Fresh. I crouched, brushed dirt from the concrete. The culvert had been widened recently. Heavy equipment. Quiet work. That night, I checked the county GIS database myself. Historical layers. Archived zoning maps. 6 months ago, nothing had changed. 3 months ago, everything had. Same digital signature on every file. Same initials approving environmental review. RH. I Googled it. Nothing. The HOA meeting was packed. Cyclists. Families. Ellison stood at the front, smiling tight. "We're here to address concerns," he said. "Let's stay respectful." I stood. "Who reclassified my land?" Murmurs. Ellison adjusted his glasses. "The county, as part of a broader initiative." I dropped printed maps on the table. "These changes don't exist before March. And these cameras." I held up photos. They're not for bikes. A woman in the back whispered, "What cameras?" Ellison's smile cracked. "Just a hair. We're enhancing safety." "Then why are they angled toward my grazing fields?" I asked, "Why is there a locked culvert under the trail?" Silence. I leaned in. "You didn't forget this was cattle land. You needed it to stay that way. Empty at night. Loud during the day." Ellison swallowed. "You're making accusations." "Then open the culvert," I said. The room buzzed. Phones came out. Ellison raised his hands. Meeting adjourned. As people filed out, he caught my arm. His grip was cold. "You don't understand what you're stepping into," he said quietly. I met his eyes, then stopped digging under my land. He let go like he'd been burned. That night, Red Man bellowed at something beneath the pasture, and the ground answered back with a hollow echo. The community wellness fair opened under a cloudless sky, the kind that makes everything feel staged. Balloon arches, food trucks humming, a local news van idling with its antenna raised like it was sniffing for trouble. I stood at the edge of the crowd, boots dusty, jacket zipped, flash drive heavy in my pocket. Mark Ellison was already sweating. He took the podium with a practiced smile. "Today marks a new chapter for our community, health connectivity, shared space." I glanced behind him. The meadow loop ribbon stretched bright and ridiculous across the bike path that cut through my pasture like a scar. The county commissioner stepped up next. "This trail represents cooperation between private stakeholders and—" That's not what's under it. My voice carried farther than I expected. Heads turned. Cameras followed. Ellison froze. I walked forward, slow, deliberate. "Before you cut that ribbon, you should know what you're standing on." The commissioner frowned. "Sir, this isn't—" I handed a reporter the flash drive. Zoning overlays. Time-stamped edits. Trail camera feeds routed to a private server not owned by the HOA. And audio recordings. Ellison shook his head sharply. "This is inappropriate." I clicked the recorder. Ellison's own voice spilled out over the fair speakers, thin and unmistakable. The cattle noise masked the drilling. That's why the location works. Nobody complains about cows. A ripple went through the crowd. Someone laughed, then stopped. Phones came up everywhere. "Drilling," the commissioner said. "What drilling?" Right on cue, Red Man bellowed from the pasture. The sound that followed wasn't a moo or a shout. It was a deep concussive crack, like the earth snapping a knuckle. The bike path buckled. Asphalt folded inward. Screams cut through the music. A sinkhole opened where the ribbon had been, swallowing cones. Banners, part of the stage. Dust billowed. From the pit, metal glinted. Thick industrial piping, bolted and reinforced. Not recreational. Not legal. Deputies rushed in. The fair dissolved into chaos. Kids crying, cyclists scrambling, reporters narrating breathlessly into cameras. Ellison backed away from the podium, eyes wide. This isn't what it looks like." I grabbed the mic. "It's an unpermitted underground operation, using agricultural land as cover. The HOA wasn't mistaken. It was convenient." The commissioner stared at the hole. "Shut it down," he barked. "Secure the site. Now." Ellison turned and ran. I caught him near the parking lot. He slipped on gravel, went down hard. When I pinned him, he smelled like fear and expensive cologne. "You think you won?" he spat, blood on his lip, as deputies cuffed him. "They'll just move." "Who?" I asked. He smiled, shaky and cruel. "Not me." Sirens wailed. Live feeds replayed the collapse on loop. Contractors were pulled from the underground tunnel, all claiming ignorance, all paid through shell companies. By sunset, the meadow loop was wrapped in yellow tape. My pasture was quiet again, but the initials on the permits, RH, still didn't belong to anyone. By the end of the week, the bike path was gone. County crews tore up the asphalt in silence, working fast, like they wanted the land to forget it had ever been touched. Fresh soil replaced concrete. Seed was scattered by hand. From a distance, it almost looked like nothing had happened. Almost. The HOA board dissolved overnight. Mark Ellison's name vanished from the website, then from the town's conversations. The news cycle burned hot for 3 days. Illegal tunnel beneath suburban trail. HOA president arrested, then cooled, replaced by something louder and easier to digest. People stopped me at the feed store, at the diner. They shook my hand, bought me coffee. "You saved the town," one of them said. I nodded, but it didn't feel like saving. It felt like interruption. Ellison took a plea deal. 18 months, no trial. No testimony about who funded the operation or why the permits were rewritten. Just enough guilt to close the file. I visited him once at the county jail. He sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit that didn't fit right. Thinner than I remembered. He wouldn't look up. "They're done here," he said quietly. "You can relax." "Who are they?" I asked. His mouth twitched. I never knew names. Just instructions. Deadlines. Money that cleared before I asked questions. "The initials," I said. "RH. That got his attention. He looked up, eyes flat. "Those change," he said. "That's the point. The investigation concluded the tunnel was part of a private infrastructure test." No further details were released. Federal interest was mentioned once, then scrubbed from the record. The culvert was filled with concrete and sealed like a grave. A week later, a county surveyor showed up unannounced. New truck, new equipment, polite smile, routine follow-up. He said, "Scanning my pasture with gear I'd never seen the county use. Federal partnership." "With who?" I asked. He shrugged. "Above my pay grade." That night, I checked the cameras I'd installed along the fence line. At 2:14 a.m., a drone passed low and silent over the south pasture. No lights, no registration beacon. It hovered where the tunnel entrance had been, steady as a thought you can't shake. Then it moved on. The next morning, I found a small plastic marker at the edge of my land. Clean, official looking, no logo, just a number stamped into it. I pulled it out and set it on my kitchen table, staring at it while the coffee went cold. The pasture feels like mine again. The cattle sleep easy. Red man barely lifts his head when the wind shifts. Whatever they were building didn't need this land. It needed land like it. Somewhere else, another path is being poured, and someone is counting on the noise to cover the work.